Alright, let's geek out for a second, but don't worry, I'm not about to drown you in medical jargon. You don't need a PhD to understand this. The science behind these new weight loss drugs is actually kind of fascinating once you break it down. Here's the deal, medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro all belong to a class called GLP-1 receptor agonists. Now, I know that sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but hang with me. Basically, GLP-1 is a hormone your own body already makes. It's released in your gut after you eat, and it sends a very important message to your brain: hey, you're full. You can stop now. The trouble is, for a lot of people, especially those struggling with weight, this signal just doesn't come through loud and clear. It's like having a traffic light that's broken. The light is supposed to turn red and tell cars to stop, but instead it's stuck on green. So traffic just keeps rushing through. In the same way, your appetite just keeps going, and you never really feel satisfied. Now here's where these drugs come in. They act like a stronger, longer-lasting version of that hormone. It's like installing a brand new stoplight that works perfectly every single time. Suddenly, your brain gets the signal loud and clear: you're good. You don't need more food. And that changes everything. Let me give you an example. Imagine you sit down at your favorite restaurant. In the past, maybe you'd order an appetizer, crush a big entree, and then still be eyeing dessert. But on these meds, you might order the same appetizer, eat half the entree, and then push the plate away, not because you're forcing yourself, not because you're trying to be good, but because you actually feel done. You feel full in a way you maybe haven't in years. That's the power of biology. But it's not just about appetite. These drugs slow down how fast food leaves your stomach. That means when you eat, food hangs out longer, and you feel fuller, longer. Think of it like putting a log on a fire instead of a handful of twigs. A log burns slow and steady, keeping the fire going. A pile of twigs burns up in seconds and leaves you hungry again. And here's another piece: they also help regulate blood sugar. That's actually how these drugs were first developed, for diabetes. Doctors noticed patients not only had better blood sugar control, but many were also losing weight without really trying. That was the light bulb moment. They realized this could be a game changer for obesity as well. Now, let's talk numbers, because the results are jaw-dropping. In clinical trials, people on Wegovy lost an average of about 15% of their body weight. Some lost even more. To put that into perspective, if you weigh 220 pounds, that's around 33 pounds gone. And we're not talking about years of starving and suffering to get there. We're talking about a year or so, with no crash diets. For people who've tried everything, that's monumental. Even more impressive, doctors are seeing benefits beyond the scale. Studies show these drugs lower the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, improve cholesterol, and may even reduce heart disease risk. Some scientists are exploring whether they can help with conditions like sleep apnea or fatty liver disease. It's like this ripple effect: fix one thing, and a whole bunch of other things get better too. But let's pump the brakes for a second. Because as powerful as this science is, it's not a magic wand. These drugs come with side effects. The most common are nausea, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, basically stomach stuff. For most people it's manageable, but for some it can be rough. And in rare cases, there are more serious concerns, like pancreatitis or thyroid issues. That's why doctors don't just hand this out like candy, they screen patients carefully. And then there's the elephant in the room: cost. Without insurance, we're talking over $1,000 a month. That's mortgage payment money. And even with insurance, coverage can be spotty. Some people get it approved, others get denied. Which means there's this frustrating reality: the people who might benefit most often can afford it. And the people who can afford it are usually already the most privileged. That creates a whole new layer of inequality in healthcare. Another big question is, what happens when you stop? Early studies show that many people regain weight once they're off the drug. Which makes sense: if you remove that signal in the brain, appetite creeps back up. That leads some experts to say, look, if you're using this, be prepared for the long haul. This might be a lifelong medication, the same way people take blood pressure pills or cholesterol meds forever. Now, you might be wondering, is it safe to be on a drug like this for life? That's something doctors and scientists are still figuring out. We don't yet have decades of data. But the early signs are promising, and honestly, the risks of obesity itself, heart disease, diabetes, early death, are so high that for many people, the benefits outweigh the unknowns. Think about it this way: we don't shame someone for taking insulin to control diabetes. We don't say someone with asthma is cheating because they use an inhaler. Obesity is a medical condition too. And these drugs are one of the first real medical treatments that address the biology behind it instead of just yelling, try harder. Still, here's the truth: the science is powerful, but it's not the whole story. These drugs can give you an incredible head start, but they don't replace lifestyle changes. They can quiet the hunger, but they can't make you choose broccoli over French fries. They can make exercise feel easier, but they can't make you lace up your sneakers. In other words, they're a tool, maybe the best tool we ever had, but the rest of the work still comes down to you. So yeah, the science is mind-blowing. We're talking about a medication that can literally rewire how your body signals hunger. For a country drowning in weight-related health problems, that's revolutionary. But before you start thinking it's the silver bullet, remember, the story doesn't end here. Because what really matters is what you do with that tool. And that brings us to the next big question: if these medications give you a head start, how do you actually keep the momentum? What are the lifestyle habits, the food choices, the daily routines, that make the difference between lasting success and sliding back into old patterns?